I've got the answer right here, ladies and gentlemen, to everything that ails you. Now step right up.
One who acts like a doctor about his salves and remedies. Cruel practice of making money on people's worries feared throughout the years as quackery.
I said cure of backache, nervousness,
All right, so welcome back, QuackHeads, to a little special Quick Quack. I don't know if you guys have seen recently on Netflix, there's the documentary The Pharmacist, and we thought it'd be perfect, something to talk about on a little Quick Quack reviews here. So it's Dr. Will the Pill and John, remote today, so we're going to see how that goes. So you guys are going to be our test dummies for us figuring out how to work long distance relationship here. So long distance relationships can work, right?
I don't believe so. I mean, it all depends though. Like, I mean, I guess some girls can work it, but I just couldn't, man. I'd have to see.
You ever had phone sex before?
Yeah, we just did.
Ooh.
You and me.
I didn't know we were going to be that open today, but all right. No, I never have had phone sex. I didn't know. I mean, what is it? Like one person just like talks dirty and the other person just does diddles himself? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I guess.
And see, I guess it doesn't matter if we're long distance or together. We'll still find some crazy shit to talk about. Okay, so let's get right in this because it's a quick quack, not a long quack. So The Pharmacist, you've watched it, right?
That was an excellent recommendation. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, no problem. So I'll just do like a quick overview. So I guess this is a spoiler alert. Hopefully all of you have watched this. If not, Netflix, everyone in the world has it, I assume. So go watch it. It's The Pharmacist. It's like a docuseries, I think. I guess would be like a series of documentary.
Yeah. It's like 3 episodes, right? 3 or 4?
I think 4. I think it's 4.
It's addicting. It's a fantastic
yeah, you'll watch
show.
them all real fast. So, which I love Netflix for their strategy of dumping it all at this one time, which is awesome. For most things, they're starting to do some where it's like releasing 1 week at a time. That drives me nuts.
Yeah.
We want it instantly. But anyway, Dan Schneider. All right. He's this independent pharmacist out of St. Bernard Parish. So for those of you who don't know about pharmacist, there's different kind. Obviously, there's lots of different jobs for pharmacists. You can work in a hospital. You can work retail. You can do nuclear pharmacy. You can do specialty. You can work in nursing homes. There's a lot of things you can do. But an independent pharmacist would be like you work for Joe's Pharmacy or whatever it was he was at. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah,
but anyway. Yeah, it's on Netflix. So he doesn't own it, but some guy owns it and he just works there, which is a sweet gig because, like, if you work for a big chain, it's going to be more corporate, whereas a small one, you can kind of do whatever you want. So anyway, this guy, Dan Snyder, he had a son who was addicted to opioids, and that moved on to other illicit substances like I think crack. Was it? I think it's crack that he was trying to score, and he ends up being shot. And they can't figure out who it is. So Dan Schneider takes it into his own hands, and he tries to figure out who the killer is. And, spoiler alert, he figures it out on his own, but he doesn't stop there because he realizes it's kind of a epidemic, the opioid epidemic, and it's really bad in that area.
Where's St. Bernard Parish at?
It's just southeast of New Orleans. And so they were able to go to that like 9th Ward or whatever. You remember hearing about that?
Yeah.
Katrina?
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
So that's where it's apparently like crazy as shit. Like it's just like the ghetto. It's just like drugs. Like it's dangerous. They were saying like he came in there and he's like this white dude, and they're like they interviewed all these people. They was like, man, he was like a dead man walking coming in here. We couldn't believe he had the balls to do that.
Yeah, and there was like one old school drug dealer who like took him under his wing. He was like, dude, you're going to get killed, so I'm going to help you type.
Yeah, that's some crazy shit, right?
Yeah.
So, and that was all super interesting with the documentary. So I'll let y'all, you watch it and check that out. I was going to kind of talk about more the second half of the documentary where he goes kind of after the opioid crisis and what the hell is going on. So the person who pisses us off the most, obviously, Dr. Jacqueline Cleggett. So I'll get into her right off the bat, not wasting any time. So this woman is a doctor. She's actually a pediatrician. Okay. So she was treating kids, and then she realized, oh, I can make a shitload of money by doing pain management. And I know you guys can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes. Pain management is what basically was a pill mill. And I'll actually go to the FBI's description of what they say a pill mill is here in a second. But so this building, you remember seeing it on this documentary? This place just looks like a big warehouse. Yeah. And it actually was a scuba diving shop.
Oh, wow. So you could just open up those? Like
I guess. You just open up a doctor's office. Hers was open 24 hours a day.
I know. It's comical.
So she'd have people waiting there for days at a time.
Yeah, like scoring drugs.
Yeah, she hired police guards to protect it because, these crazy drug heads are so unpredictable and they want their stuff. Yeah. And so she would have to have like armed guard.
And I guess you can hire a police officer to, because you would hire him independently and he can still wear his uniform. I've seen that before, like hotels will hire him, stuff like that. But they're not working for the police. They're actually making their own money.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so they do that. A lot of times you'll hire them to do things like traffic, like if you wanted to put on a race, you can have them hire them. And I think they do that on their own time, but they can do that as a representative of the city or state or whatever, whoever they are. So Dr. Cleggett. So do you remember in the documentary, they found boxes of already pre-signed prescriptions of OxyContin?
Yeah.
What the And then and also one thing I thought was interesting was, and it's very evident it was a pill mill, because she would have people who were having to wait days, but if you wanted to pay $100 cash, you move up the line.
That's so messed up, dude.
Yeah. So anyway, her medical license was revoked in 2002. She filed for bankruptcy in 2004, and then she got in a car accident in 2006 when she was debilitated. In the show, they show that. Which
saved her from going to prison.
Big time. So it was actually, as sad as it is, it was also, you don't know the circumstances, they don't say of her accident, like, was she at fault? I think someone else was driving or whatever, but...
but that should have that should have nothing to do with the sentencing.
Exactly. Exactly, man. So 2009, she pled guilty to illegally dispensing controlled substances, a crime that carries a sentence of up to 20 years in prison and $1 million in fines. But according to the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, there were also 17 other people arrested in the same investigation, distributing drugs from Cleggett around the state. But she struck a plea deal. I guess she tattled on them, she's which is crazy. She's like the kingpin.
Yeah, no
of this
shit.
whole thing.
It's stupid.
She just got probation. So that's why, like,
probation.
They show the judge or whatever, like, I don't think the punishment fit the crime. Yeah, no shit. And they also said they went to her house and, there was just like pill bottles everywhere. So they said on the documentary that she had a stock bottle of hydrocodone. That is like, we have a 500 count. Like, how the hell did she get her hands on that? It's not like a pharmacy would just like dispense her that. Like, where the hell did she get that? I'm wondering.
You think she's getting it overseas somewhere?
I don't know, but that thing's big. Like, if you think about like a mason jar, it's like one of the big mason jars full.
Jesus.
Of pain.
And she was addicted, even though she denied being addicted. She had to be.
Did it drive you crazy when she was like, it's a drug that's very effective for pain, and I used it for that, and I don't think that I was doing anything wrong. And the whole time you just want to like,
strangle her. Yeah.
So let's go through a pill mill real fast, and I'm going to let you ask me some questions that you have about this after we get through this, because I'm very interested from like a non-pharmacist perspective what people thought about this. For those of you who haven't listened to our other podcast, I am a doctor of pharmacy, so have my PharmD, and so every week we go through different quackery topics, but today we're doing this just about The Pharmacist on Netflix. But a pill mill, so from Stephen Blum in the FBI, this was from, actually, they do a podcast. The FBI does a podcast. Did you know that? That's
pretty cool. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's called FBI This Week, and they just kind of do updates and stuff, which is kind of cool. I might actually go check it out. Their August 1st edition from 2019, They said, we're looking at the most egregious instances of providers who have essentially become drug dealers themselves, who are literally selling prescriptions for oxycodone. And then he goes on to say, a physician that's determined to go down this path, they are able to put tens, hundreds of thousands, millions of pills into a community if they go unchecked, because many of these doctors' offices are what we call pill mills, meaning they just manufacture so many prescriptions. The volume becomes monumental, especially in small rural communities. So that was Stephen Blum, FBI, which is just so sad. Like the way these doctors basically just, they take this they get licensed to help, and they're supposed to do no harm, right? That's the Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah.
And then they just realize, like, oh man, I can just do this. Because like not a lot of people are suspicious of doctors at first, or especially at this point, because it's a respected position. Like it's they're doctor. Oh, like some doctors. Did you ever growing up? Did you ever have like, people in the community and be like, if you were like, oh, hey, Mr. Smith, and your parents would be like, that's Dr. Smith. You're like, do they really get mad if you say Mr.? I always thought that was weird.
Yeah.
Did you know anybody like that?
I mean, I would call someone doctor if they're a doctor, just like a respect thing. But, I was also in the military, kind of had to do that, but no. All right. So in the documentary, it said that basically anyone could start these. So do you have to be a doctor to start? Yeah.
Well, so you could, if you wanted to start a pill mill, you could, but you have to have a doctor to write the prescriptions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there not a database for these prescriptions? I mean, could they not see an uptick in prescriptions in this pharmacy and immediately know it's something sketchy?
So at the time of this documentary, it was before our the databases
Scripts?
Online were going on.
Called?
Yep, Scripts. You got it. So it's
I had to go through. So my last trip to the VA was the first time that I had to be put through that database to make sure I wasn't doctor shopping.
Yep.
And
it's easy to look at now, man. It's nice. So it's the PMP, Prescription Monitoring Program, and different states kind of have nicknames. And so South Carolina's is Scripps, SC. They just went with that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So,
and do you have to do it every time someone comes into the pharmacy, or is it just certain drugs?
We use it at our discretion. Other than there's a list of drugs we're supposed to do it for. And so it's like plain oxycodone, hydromorphone, which is dilaudid. We have to do it for, trying to think what all the ones are. Oxymorphone.
Because I guess I had to go through it for the Adderall.
We can use it for stuff like that. Like, let's say we have someone who's new. Like, let's say you came to my pharmacy and I'm like, you're like, hey, I've never filled here before. And we're like, well, gosh, how do I know you didn't just get this somewhere yesterday, Yeah. And so to find out, I can just go in there and look. But if it's someone who uses insurance and comes to your pharmacy every month and from the same doctor, like you're not required to use it, but it's a really nice tool. And in some things, we will use it for sure. Especially like, let's say on this documentary, they talk about something called like the holy trinity of drugs. So this became a big problem around that time where they would prescribe a lot of times benzos, which are like Xanax and Klonopin and things like that, with the oxycodone or Oxycontin, which is the same thing. Oxycontin is extended release oxycodone. And then they would combine it with Soma, which is a muscle relaxant. And that's actually what Anna Nicole Smith took. She overdosed on that and died. I think she probably was combining it with these other things. But when you put them all together, it gives you a high like heroin.
Does it slow your heart rate down too much?
Oh, well, yeah. Definitely it will.
Is that what they're dying from?
Yeah, typically, it'll just be one of those things. Like so just think about when in our opioid episode, they all the things together. So like it's slowing down your breathing, your heart rate, all these things, and eventually you'll just go into respiratory. You'll stop breathing basically.
Jesus.
That's crazy. So that holy trinity. So if we see that, obviously we'll be using that prescription monitoring. Does
anyone get prescribed the Holy Trinity like that need it? Is that
don't see it anymore just because it's so it's dangerous, and like when it pops up, insurances too now will be like, okay, they're gonna make you put in all these extra codes. Like even if it's not all three, like if you just get two, like for instance, if someone comes in with a Percocet, which is oxycodone and Tylenol or acetaminophen, plus like Xanax, it's gonna always make us put in an override code like these are going to cause excess sedation. It's going to make, less, the breathing's going to be slower, these kind of things. So every time we have to tell people, like, especially older people, like, you don't want them falling down and those sort of things because it's really bad for them, breaking hips and such.
Oh, yeah.
Fell and broke my hip because I was on too much OxyContin from Dr. Cliggett. But we'll talk about OxyContin. You had any more questions about pill mills or?
No, I'm just looking at these slides. This Dan Schneider is a boss. For real.
He is something, man. He's something. I want to talk about him. He is a boss. He's hilarious. So OxyContin is extended release oxycodone. Some slang terms, the OC, Oxyset, Oxycontin, Oxy, hillbilly heroin, or the perks.
Oh my God. The perks?
So they said between 1995 and 2001, they brought in $2.8 billion in revenue for Purdue Pharma. And so they had $35 billion by 2017. There's an ongoing lawsuit where they're just offering to pay a $12 billion settlement to people who've, patients of OxyContin.
Yeah. So
they basically said, in the documentary, that drug rep, which is crazy. There were drug reps for OxyContin.
Oh, like, really?
Shit. You remember in the documentary?
Yeah.
One guy.
He was like the top salesman or something.
That's what he was doing. He was going around telling doctors to prescribe this. It just seems crazy to me. It'd be like a guy who dresses up in a suit and is like, well, are you all stocked up on your heroin?
Oh, shit. But there are guys that do that with like Viagra and stuff, right? I guess.
Yeah. And they really crack down on it. There used to be like way unregulated. So like my old boss in the pharmacy, not the pharmacy I even work at now, but when I first started, he said he used to be a Viagra rep. He was like, man, back in the 90s, repping Viagra was amazing. He's like, we'd be going out on, these yachts all the time, taking all these doctors out and like booze, getting them boozed up and be like, oh, don't forget to write our Viagra prescriptions. And it was all just part of like, and then they'd come by the pharmacy, give samples. They'd come by the pharmacy and bring like a pizza. I remember because that was right before. There was this drug when I was a student. Oh, it was when Boniva first came out. They would bring us pizzas that just had a number 1 spelled out with pepperonis because you only had to take it one time a month. Like that's what they used to do. Now they can't even give you pens. Like it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, you don't want people, you don't want your doctor though writing prescriptions because someone more, Purdue came in and bought them basically with their favors. So that's not good medicine either. But no, what they guy said was like, oh, the package insert says it's not as addictive as another type of, pain medication. So he said we believed that it wasn't really true. I mean, it's extended release, but the initial formulation of it. So actually, when I first started as a student too, this pharmacist told me he had a patient come in and said, oh, OxyContin. He's like, man, all you got to do is take OxyContin and rub it on an egg crate. The the styrofoam, and it will rub all that controlled stuff off the outside. Then you could crush it up and do whatever you need to with it, inject it, snort it, whatever.
That's
but
nuts,
now, so
man.
then, in 2010, they re-released it with like an abuse deterrent formula. So what it's supposed to do is like if it gets wet, it gets like this gummy substance, or if you try to crush it, so like it won't let you inject. It's very difficult to snort or inject because it gets like kind of like gummy, and I don't know how well that works, but that's the idea. But they actually said that it directly led to they saw a huge jump in deaths from heroin when they changed to the abuse deterrent formula.
Oh wow!
Isn't
because
that crazy?
People would go buy heroin. They
would buy, the new OxyContin they couldn't abuse as easily, so they'd go buy heroin, weren't used to it, or it'd have all these things in it, well, probably not at that point, 2010, not carfentanil, but shit like that, and they would die, which is like, oh my God, you can't win.
So it's like we do all these billions of dollars on the war against drugs, and like we basically gave the cartels like a reason to push more heroin.
That's that's a crazy point. Oh my God. Dude.
It seems ass backwards.
It is. Almost like you just make sure you might as well just open the doors and let everybody have what.
Can you imagine like the heads of the Sinaloa cartel, and they're like, oh my God, this is so great. I love America.
I'm sure they do love America. It's our policies.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Dan Schneider.
Okay.
So what? So he's from St. Bernard's Parish or whatever. So what the hell's up with his accent? Like, it sounds like he's from Minnesota and New Orleans, doesn't it? That's so weird.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Now that I think about it, I really didn't notice it on the show, but yeah.
Like, and I'm Dan Schneider, and I'm a pharmacist.
Oh yeah.
I'm a pharmacist. Like we said, he didn't own the pharmacy. He just worked there as an independent pharmacy, and he had like a weird relationship with the owner because the owner wanted to make money, and Dan, like, we don't want to fill these Oxycontins for these from Dr. Cleggett, and it was kind of a thing, and he quit working there for a while, a couple of times during the documentary. But one thing that caught my attention, and we'll see if you noticed this. So he always was using his tape recorder, right?
Yeah, I was about to say that.
He was recording patients' conversations. I mean, now there's such a thing called HIPAA.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine that it was illegal at that. I mean, it couldn't be legal at that point, right?
I don't know, but I do remember that FBI agent called him, and he was like, "You're not recording this, are you, Dan?" And you hear the recording. He's like, "Nope."
Oh my God, dude. Because it had to be going on because, okay,
Yeah.
so HIPAA is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So that came out in 1996. So, I mean, that couldn't be legal. That's the thing I kept hearing. It's like he's recording these patients in the pharmacy against their permission, and now it's on a Netflix documentary.
What if they did? He did get their permission, though. Maybe.
Well, I mean, maybe he did. Yeah. I mean, it didn't say anything about that. I mean, I would imagine Netflix has a good legal team for sure, and helps him out. But I just thought it was crazy. Like, I
didn't think about that.
So any pharmacist listening to this, don't just go recording your patients. Do not do that. And also be careful about taking the law into your own hands. I know that he has a cool story because it was kind of like, he was kind of like in a period of
Vengeance.
pharmacy when things were changing a lot because that prescription monitoring service wasn't centralized. So they had to go through all prescriptions. And actually there were some old doctors. One time I was filling in at a pharmacy in the Low Country, and they were like, "Oh yeah, the DEA has been here for the past 2 days pulling all the hard copies of the prescriptions for an investigation against this doctor." And I was like, holy shit, they got to go through and find all the hard copies. I was like, damn.
Jesus.
So now it's much easier to keep an eye on doctors. And actually, we've had a doctor who called me and he was like, "Hey, you put my thing on the prescription monitoring service, and I'm Jim Smith, and you put you put it under Jan Smith, and I need you to go back and fix that so it's not on my So like
that's crazy.
You got to make sure it's exactly right on there because they watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You ever watch that show, My 600-Pound Life?
Yeah, I love that show.
So, do you remember when they had those brothers, the Asante brothers? Steve Asante, and he would always yell, "Oh, I need my Dilaudid! My foot hurts." Yeah, anyway, so then, Dr. Now would come in, "Stephen,
oh yeah, I do remember that.
Prescription monitoring service, and now you can't do this no more." Stephen. Heather does a good impression of him, Dr. Now, or whatever his name is. I'm like, oh my God, it was hilarious. You got this little guy, wagging his finger. He looks like an Oompa Loompa. But yeah, that's the same thing we're talking about, that prescription monitoring service. So they kept an eye on him, but I thought that was funny. It made me think of it. So they were saying that, okay, so here's some from the healthandhumanservices.gov. It says 130 people die every day from opioid-related overdoses. 10.3 million people abuse opioids a year. And so that was as of 2018. 47,600 people died from overdosing on opioids what? Oh, misused. Okay. There's just all these numbers anyway. 81,000 people used heroin for the first time in 2018.
Oh, geez.
Million people had an opioid disorder in 2018. 808,000 people used heroin total in 2018. God, that 81,000 for the first time. That's scary.
I mean, because how do you even? I mean, do you just walk up to some
I get those
guy?
Like, hey. Well, I mean, on Drugs Inc., those people are always. I'm always amazed how willing they are to share.
Yeah.
Damn, they're just like, I'm living on the streets. I'm giving BJs for my next hit. I don't care. You're gonna give me some money?
Yeah.
I'll go score. You can film me. I'll be famous. Put me on YouTube.
It's crazy, man. 81,000 people started it.
That is crazy. But anyway, so that kind of thing. So he was kind of at the forefront of it. And then, of course, on the documentary, he ends up helping take her down. He's basically like calling the FBI and the DEA every day, driving them crazy. That shit is crazy.
I know. I love that.
Yeah. Because they're like, oh, we were doing it, and so it kind of shows like them like, yeah, we, it was ongoing investigation.
Ongoing for a year, and people were dying, man.
You see, they definitely were, and now you see why it was taking so long. So the prescription monitoring service, but I just thought it was a very interesting story and a cool documentary. Just kind of wanted to cover a few points of it. So ask me some more questions about it. What do you want to know? I
mean, what's the actual fix? Because all right, people do need this pain medicine, right? They need oxycodone, correct? Like they actually need it. But the flip side is it's very addictive, and people are literally turning to heroin. 81,000 people tried it for the first time. So like, what's the solution, man? Like, I mean, this is obviously a huge problem. Is there a solution?
I would think like making sure there's more, because it's so difficult to, like we've talked about before, so difficult to judge how much pain a person is in.
Yeah, it's like subjective. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I wish there could be more like measures like, patches that release it over a short period of time that are not as easily abused. Because even like they have fentanyl patches.
Shit.
Which they release pain medicine slowly over 3 days, and then you replace the patch. But people have found out how to cut them open and get the fentanyl out, which is super dangerous. Like people, we have to tell everyone, like, do not cut these. Like if it doesn't fit on your arm right, put it somewhere else. Because
they'll cut it and try to just to fit on the. Oh my God!
If they touch it, if they cut it and they touch it, it's going to be way concentrated, and they'll absorb through their skin, and they'll overdose just from absorbing through their skin. That's how strong it is, man. Yeah.
Do we need that stuff? That like, do we really? I mean, I understand.
Opinion, no.
To prescribe, I understand you're going in for surgery, and an anesthesiologist is giving it to you to put you under, but to prescribe something that strong, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right. I've never been in a situation where I've been in long-term pain. So, I mean, in my opinion, I would say people don't need to be on this stuff long-term, okay? Because you just build up a tolerance to it, and you need more, and then it begins like, are you even in pain anymore, or you just need it because you're addicted to it? Your body is dependent on it. So I think there should be, I mean, there's no, these pain clinics I think are tragic because I think pain clinics should go away. That's my personal opinion as a pharmacist. The people go there just to get pain medicine. Okay. Mm-hmm. And now there still are pain clinics. I mean, they're not necessarily all pill mills. There's a lot of them that are, but like, they're very strict. Like they'll be like, okay, you can only get exactly what we said. They get inspected by the DEA all the time. They drug test people to make sure they're on that and not anything else. But even so, like, I mean, why do these people need this all the time? Like, can't you figure out something to help the root cause of their pain instead of just feeding them these dangerous pills that we don't need to be out there anyway? Because let's say they are in a little bit of pain. Well, how many of them do you know that are taking half and selling half? You know?
Exactly. Oh,
and they're on the drug test that they're taking it. So it's awful.
One other thing that really pissed me off about Purdue is they actually got into the business of doing like rehabilitation services for their drug that they said that was not addictive. That's so slimy, Those executives are so slimy.
It says here that it wasn't necessarily a specific drug. It was that they were going to do these opioid addiction treatment centers. They were going to pay for it, but then they didn't. So now they're charging for it. So Purdue Pharma is not only still selling OxyContin, by the way, and the fact that they changed the formulation has put a delay on the patent expiring too. And how shady is that? So like, people are abusing it too much, so we got to change the formulation so it extends the life of the patent so they make more money.
They all do that dumb shit, those patents. That's why people can't get drugs they need.
Mm-hmm. Dan Schneider, and I'm a pharmacist. Shit, man. All right, well, that's our quick quack. Go to the last slide here for me. Look at this. I found
what the fuck is this?
You look like a ducking quackhead. It was like I found this. It was like a picture competition, and they were like, Make a cracked out duck.
Yeah.
Somebody, this is the one that won. I thought it was pretty good.
It kind of looked like Big Bird at first.
He does. If this episode really quacked you guys up and you want to support the crew, please head over to quackerypodcast.com/join and become an official QuackHead. And if you want to be Dan Schneider for next week, go ahead and hit subscribe. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Tell your friends. And as always, keep calm and quack on.